Hey everybody, Professor Snart checking in. Welcome back from spring break. Hopefully you had a good one. Okay, so we are in our course here, just looking at our units coming up. Actually, I'll switch to our due dates list. It's a little bit easier to look at. All right, so we have just finished up spring break down here. You'll notice that we're getting towards the end of our course. We'll do our poetry workshop now. So again, just like before, we have our two due date system, where you're posting your poem or maybe series of short poems, could be related, could be unrelated, doesn't matter, by Tuesday, March 29th, and then we have a fairly long turnaround time, April 5th. You'll notice that the groups are a little bit bigger this time around because the volume of work that you're having to look at maybe isn't that great, but still looking for lots of engagement as far as the you providing comments back. Kind of a, not line by line exactly, but certainly more than just that summative paragraph at the end. This is a good time then to review the rules of creative writing a little bit. Helps inform what you're doing, but also points you towards things that you might look for going on in other people's work as far as strengths, but also weaknesses or areas to improve. Even how the workshops work can provide you with some more maybe reminders at this point about how to engage with other people's work in a productive way, so you feel like you're providing something useful, and obviously you as an author are getting some useful comments back. I think especially with poetry, people can feel, like I said before, a little intimidated, not just on the writing side of it, but also on the critical side of it or the evaluation side of it. There's no good way to put that. So you don't feel necessarily like you're in any position to offer your feedback to somebody because you're just sort of learning about this yourself. But truthfully, like I said before, this is really fundamentally how the workshop works and why it works so well, is that you're just a reader of the poem, not with some agenda or area of expertise or set of expectations or anything like that. So it's really useful for you as the author of a work to get feedback from a group of readers who's just sort of like a group of your peers, people who would be reading your work in any other situation if you were to publish it. So what's their reaction? And again, you can focus certainly on the craft of the thing, but if you have a reaction, positive or maybe negative, to a title or to what you feel is working really well or not working really well in the poem, that's a great place to start. So just your kind of gut reaction, you don't have to ignore that or say, well, that's not how an expert would do it. In some ways it is. The step further that we want to go then is not just I like that, I didn't like that, but to really pinpoint why. And of course that's the challenging part and the slightly more time consuming part, but is also the valuable part. So if you're as the author getting feedback from your group that they like a title or they don't like a certain phrase or they love a comparison or whatever, we really want to know the specifics of that or how it's actually working. So definitely take your time with these comments and don't feel like you've got to sort of pull back or you're not qualified. You are. I mean, just being in the class and participating in the workshop makes you qualified. You'll notice that we turn right around then into Unit 11, which is our final workshop, an open genre workshop. So you can return to a short story, you could write another poem, you could do creative nonfiction, so genres that we've covered, or you could certainly venture out into a genre that we haven't covered. You might want to check with me just to make sure it's going to fit or if there's some practical, implications for what you're doing. But this is a great opportunity to cover something we maybe haven't done, or because we haven't had any mechanism for redoing a certain genre in our course because we're trying to move forward. If you wanted to try your hand at another short story, this is the great opportunity to do so. You really don't want to return to something that you've already written. In other words, you don't want to take your creative nonfiction piece or your short story and submit it again unless it is substantially really, really different. Because again, it sort of defeats the purpose of the workshop, which is to take a work that isn't completed, it's just in progress, and to get some feedback about what's working and what's not working, and for you as the author to maybe ask questions about is this going in a good direction? Are the characters believable? Is the dialogue natural? And all of that kind of stuff. If you're submitting something that you've already submitted and gotten feedback on and just tweaked a little bit, if you fix typos, that's not really fulfilling the purpose of the workshop. So definitely venture into a new genre if you want, or return to an old genre, but try to write something again from scratch. And of course, as always, we have to be looking a little bit further forward so that you're not writing whatever this happens to be, a day or two before. You want to invest a little bit of time, not to make it perfect and polished, because again, we're looking for feedback on it, but certainly so that you've invested enough time to make it meaningful that other people invest time in giving you some feedback. We then have a last opportunity for some virtual conferences. This is getting right down towards the end of our course, or face-to-face. I should actually change that because we don't need to do virtual. Lots of people are on campus. Sometime in this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday time block. Again, if that doesn't work, you can always be in touch with me. We'll figure something out. The conference sign-up is ready then if you care to do that early and just lock your time in. And then we'll turn around to our last unit. Again, it's a fair ways away because we have a couple of workshops in between here, but it's worth noting that we are getting down to the end of our course. All right, so I really look forward to the poetry that people write for our poetry workshop here. Again, hopefully you could take on a longer poem, or if you tend to want to do something shorter, maybe a series of those, or just an unrelated collection of shorter poems. We don't need to overwhelm people, but you don't just want to turn in sort of like 5 lines of poem and call it a workshop. All right, so if you have questions or concerns, be in touch with me, and I'll talk with everybody soon.